Welcome to Measuring Success Right, the official podcast of the Marriott Student Review, a podcast for students by students, where we connect the leaders of tomorrow with the issues of today.
Welcome, everyone, to the Measuring Success Right podcast. My name is Hunter Hawkins, one of your hosts, and today I'm here with Brayden Searle. Brayden, dude, good to have you.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So just for everyone, for context, Brayden and I have been good friends for, a few years now. So if it gets casual at times and we're laughing, it's just because, we're good buddies. But Brayden, we're glad to have you here to give us some of your wisdom. You want to just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, why you're here?
Yeah, so I grew up in Ogden, Utah, actually. I went on a mission for the church, got home, told myself I would never do sales or summer sales. And this is going on year 7 for me, so 6.5 years later, here I am.
Heck yeah, man. So would you say it is now your full-blown career? You're in it for the long haul?
100%.
We love it.
Yeah.
So Brayden, what really drew you to sales? Like you said, you didn't ever think you would be something you would want to do. How'd you get into it?
I got into it, I guess, so kind of two-part question. What appealed to me was that I loved working with people. I recognized that serving the mission, that going and street contacting or finding, not only did I feel like I had a skill set for it, I guess people typically enjoy the things they're good at.
Yeah.
But for me, I found a lot of joy in meeting new people, networking, that type of thing, and then adding on persuasion and influence to that. So number one, I guess the root came from having a desire and a love for just meeting and talking with people. And then how I got into it is I had a mission buddy actually who said he was going to go do it. And I told him I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. And then I just heard him out and we started talking more about things that actually struck more to my core of things that were important to me. And then so from there just decided to give it a shot.
Yeah. And
it's been awesome. Been really a lot of learning curves, but sales can be stressful in the sense of, having 100% commission-based job, things like that. But, it's been awesome. It's taught me a lot.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. I know that just from knowing you, I've known that you've been with the same company for your entire 7 years, which I think is kind of rare for the door-to-door business. What company you're with and what made you stick with them for so long?
Yeah, so I'm with Moxie Pest Control. There's several reasons that I stuck with Moxie that I can go over, but even more, I think an important principle is the grass is greener where you water it. And so I see a lot of people, it's kind of like we're in a microwave oven society, or we just want how can we get the thing as fast as possible, or flash a shiny object in front of me, and it's you go, because we're all drawn to that, right? But I think what's really important is the principle is being able to make the situation you're in. You need to check off some boxes, right?
Yeah.
It's can you do it with integrity and making sure that the company's backing up the things you say? So this is kind of the answer to why Moxie for me was because I knew I could feel good about the work that I was doing.
Yeah.
Look myself in the mirror at the end of the day and be proud of the work that I was doing. I love the company's core values of gratitude, integrity, keeping commitments, hard work, sales skills, those type of things. And so for me, that was something I could be very passionate about. And so the two-part answer to that is, number one is I was in a foundation and a structure that actually helped me become the best version of myself through personal development and leadership development. And then second to that was adopting the mindset and following the principle that as long as you can do those other things and have a good foundation, then sticking with it even when times are hard. Because the reality of it is as soon as you get that shiny object, you're still going to run into those same hardships and trials. And so I think a lot of people fall under the illusion that it's going to solve their problems when actually just getting back to the core of self-growth, the whole reason why we're actually here in life anyway.
Yeah, totally.
And just adopting that of, it's going to be tough, or yes, I need to grow. But most of the time, it's a lot easier to just go point and say, it can't be me. This other thing's going to fix my problems, where instead of just trusting that if you can say, what can I go do to improve, or how can I get better, will actually solve the issues or, give yourself the best opportunity.
Yeah, well, totally. That makes sense. I mean, like you said, there's a lot of good companies out there, and a lot of them have shiny objects or good financial benefits from them. And I think it just comes down to finding a place that you feel that's good for your values, that uplifts you. I mean, that's what I really felt at Moxie, because for those who don't know, I worked with Brayden for 2 years, for 2 summers. And I mean, that's why I stayed, just because Moxie wasn't just a place where I could financially succeed, but really become better and help others along the way, which is really, really amazing. Back to the, door-to-door itself, I mean, what are some really pros and cons with the industry? Because in Utah, a lot of people know what door-to-door is, but outside of Utah, it's like this weird thing. Like, no one knows what door-to-door is. So tell me a little bit about what it is.
Yeah, for me, the very specific thing, if we were going to do quick pros and cons, is it's a refiner's fire of personal development, because you work really long hours. You face a lot of rejection, and you find out a lot about yourself really quick. Yeah, which I think is a pro. Some people would maybe say it's a con.
Totally.
Say it's a con, actually. I think for sure is a pro. It's like one of those, I always joke and say, it hurts so good, right?
Yeah.
But so I would say that's a pro. I think I've never really seen many other opportunities that you can make more money as quickly. And that's one thing to emphasize too is, yes, we focus, and it is so crucial to have a foundation of morals and ethics, but sometimes people think you have to sacrifice the income or the earnings. But actually the person who is principle-centered and can go do that with excellence will actually go make the most money, because they have at their core the principles and the habits of what it takes to do that. Some of the cons, and I'm not even sure this is actually a con, but it is a very competitive industry. Yeah. What I mean by that specifically is leaderboards. I was a couple years ago, I was the top rep in the entire company, and then the next year you go do it over again. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's either like you rise to it and do it again and again and again and again, or you don't. And so the advantage to that is it constantly pushes you to go be better all the time. Yeah. The hard part of that is sometimes if you're not careful, you can go face some of that comparison or that culture of sales anywhere. Yeah. One thing I like, though, that I read in a book recently, it said it likened it unto gambling, and it said the best way to ever win or not the best way, the only way to win in gambling is to never walk into the casino. Yeah. So same thing with comparison, though, is the only way to beat comparison is just never start. Yeah. Right? Because you can go say 10 ways why maybe what you're doing is cooler or better, and then 1,000 ways why the thing that other people are doing is cooler or better than what you're doing. But it's just not helpful or necessary always. There's times you can use it to your advantage, but I think the best way is just being happy in your own circumstances and feeling good about where you are. Yeah, definitely. I think too, like the comparison is something that you just see, not just of course in sales, but in everything. And I think that's a good principle to live by, that just don't even start, because once you do, you just get in the hole and it just gets worse and worse and worse. Not helpful. Yeah. Brayden, I know that you were, like you said, you've been a top rep at the company multiple years, very, very successable. And a lot of people see door-to-door as that jumping stone to a different type of sales. What has made you stick with the door-to-door? And have you ever thought about going to a different type of sales position? Yes, I have. I've thought about it many times. And I think the overall reason why I stay, I've talked to, because I guess in answer, I always want people, and I've had this, like we want future doctors to come work with us, lawyers, all those things. But of course, what I've really loved is Moxie has foundation, systems, processes to have it be a career. And so for me, it kind of was nice that I was doing sales anyway, so it landed well. But I've also seen a lot of guys who were going to be lawyers or other things that ended up choosing to do this. Yeah. So in answer to the question, I have looked other places. Why I choose not to is because anytime I go reflect on why I would choose to leave, I find that the answer is just because it feels like it would be the easier thing to leave. Yeah. And so to clarify what I mean by that is the growth here as personal development. It's like if I'm in a spot that my personal development, my leadership development, I genuinely believe that I have a lot of room to go grow. And I genuinely believe that this is a spot that can go help me do that. And then on the financial side, my income potential is uncapped.
Totally.
And so I feel like anywhere I would go, I would work 3 times as long and make less money. But even more than that is I would actually just be doing it to probably alleviate the fact, because when you're growing constantly, it puts you in, it's pretty uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
And constantly trying to grow and be better. And so anytime I would think of why I would want to get out of this was just like, hey, it'd be nice just to clock in and clock out, or to take the easier road. And I'm not okay with me leaving for that. And so maybe until I feel like, hey, I've hit my full potential, then I can look elsewhere. But right now I'm feeling very passionate about hitting that mark. And then also, here's the other thing is there's a lot of things that I do really well that I'm also trying to go implement a lot of the guys I work with to be able to go help them do that as well.
Yeah.
And I find a lot of joy in that, being able to go help people become the best version of themselves, as I'm constantly trying to do the same. So it's a really fun culture, and it has drawn me in, and I think it would be very difficult to leave that. I think I would feel unsatisfied very quickly at the next thing. That's how I feel.
And like you said, that feeling of satisfaction and being where you need to be is definitely better than any type of, easiness along the road or financial benefit that could be otherwise. Because like you said, you're happy where you are. You've said it a few times, refiner's fire, and, doing sales is in door-to-door specifically is a place where you always need to keep growing. How do you push past that feeling of wanting to quit? Because, doing it 2 years, we had a lot of guys who had a really hard time. I mean, both of us have hit walls where it's really, really hard. What do you do to push past that and keep going?
Yeah, not to sound cliche, but the first thing is just understanding why you even want it in the first place. There's a quote that I'm going to botch, but it says essentially, someone with a strong enough why will figure out any how or endure any trials, really. And so the answer to that for me is facing rejection, getting humbled and feeling like maybe you're not as cool as you thought you were is not awesome at all. But not even to take it too spiritual, but I also think that it helps me to reflect on the fact that, like, this is literally what we're designed to do, is to go get better, to be better, to do better. And so when I'm in those situations that are painful, if you will, or feeling that I'm not as cool as I thought I was, then you learn to actually be able to kind of separate that feeling and say, this is kind of what I signed up for if I actually want the thing that I said I did. And then it's more of just a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, because it can very quickly become trapped of, I hear a lot of people say this, is like, well, what if the sales just aren't there so I can't feed my family? Then you go make the sales be there so you can feed your family. You have to adopt the mindset of growth, of abundance mentality, right? And so for me, I just know that that's part of the process. Is there's going to be the roller coaster of, hey, you're feeling awesome. Hey, I just learned that I'm not so awesome. Hey, I'm doing awesome again. And that's where I like this, is that you just learn, oh, I need to go get better at this. So then you can choose to go get better at it. And that's where that is the process of what I'm talking about when I say is I don't think I've reached my full potential, is because I haven't figured a time that I'm not thinking like, oh, wow, this is hard again. And other things, I know life's hard in general, but I think that when I start to look at other careers or even consider that, it would be to just ease that. So
one thing, too, that I've really loved about Moxie, working with them for 2 years, is they have a lot of really good programs that helps build that potential, as well as help you create that amazing mindset that you have. Do you want to talk about those programs a little bit?
Yeah, there's many just came to my mind, so I'm just going to hurry and filter down to top two just for time's sake. Number one would be, we study very religiously, if you will, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And I've read it each year. Essentially, you're doing different exercises and how we can go apply the principles. And what I really like about that is we go take all of our different roles, and it says, because I'm a dad and have 3 kids, how can I be a better father? What is my goal this week? What is my commitment that I can go become the best dad that I can be? Same thing as a husband, in all the different roles of my life. And not only just teaching it, but then the people you're surrounding yourself with are also doing the same thing. And so it goes back to the classic, who you spend time with is who you become. Mm-hmm. And so when everybody or the majority of people are bought into doing that, then it makes it fun. And that's where there's just so much growth. Number 2 is we have it's called Moxie University, but we have a full course that's designed for inner game. So inner game is more of your mind and your heart, right? I think that's actually probably 80 to 90% of, I guess I would say that's actually more important than even just like the
sales skills.
The sales skills, yeah, if you will, or the body language or those type of tonalities, that type of thing. I think both are important, but actually just having a strong head and heart is even more important. But we go through all those courses with advanced scripting, all those things. Yeah. And then it goes on, actually maybe this is where I got it, but one of the courses in there is actually called the Refiner's Fire and how to overcome it, raising your standards of excellence. And so those are the first 2 that come to mind of like the actual implementing and the tools and things we have available.
Yeah, and I really loved them when I did them. I mean, I did both of them 2 years, and they're super beneficial. I think when you look on the outside of sales, looking in, you only think that these guys just focus on selling and pitching and doing it over and over, and that's it. But that's completely wrong. I mean, I think maybe some companies definitely do that, but Moxie definitely sets itself apart and really focuses on you becoming better as a person first, and then that will transition to the sales itself, which I think is really amazing. Another thing that caught my attention that you were saying is that Moxie is a place that can build a career or just be a stepping stone to something else, like you said, for doctors or lawyers. How does the sales experience help for people that are going to go on and do different careers?
Yeah, that's a really fantastic question. Most of the people that I actually work with and have worked with have used this as a tool or a vehicle, if you will, to get from where they are to where they want to go as fast as possible. So if I could give even a quick example, would be if someone wanted to go open up their own business, and you'd say, well, how does selling, because here's the thing is you take door-to-door, not sexy. You take pest control, not super sexy. Combining the 2 doesn't make it any sexier. Yeah. And so my thought there is a lot of times you'd say, well, how does me going to open up my business actually, how would this help me? And the answer is when you go into business and you need to go get some customers, how are you going to go get those customers? We can go teach you that skill set. When you go reach out to the first couple customers and they tell you no, how are you going to respond? I can go teach you how to respond to that. And so the principles are in really, I guess I would just say it's much more than just pest control in the sense of the principles that it teaches you. Because the person that can go and excel at a job like door-to-door, I actually believe they have a way greater probability to go succeed at the next thing because they learned how to go succeed at this. That's one aspect of it. Another aspect of it is I know a lot of guys who did law school, and I know we were talking a little bit about this, right? It's like sometimes you go through it and it's $200,000. So how cool would that be to graduate debt-free? Yeah. And so, yeah, there's multiple reasons why I think it actually is beneficial. But for sure, anybody who's looking to go like be better or excel. So like it also goes to the point of you have to go convince if you're a business owner why they should go with you versus the other business. Yeah. You need to have that skill set. Sales is in everything that you do. If you need to go convince your girlfriend why she should go with you versus the next guy, right? Totally. All the silly things. But I genuinely believe that learning that skill set would set you up for a really bright future on the sales side, and then also developing the skill set of a relentless mindset. Because if you're going to succeed at sales, you just have to adopt, I would say, just a relentless mindset, which will carry over for everything else you go do.
No, I 100% agree with you. I think the big 3 things that I, really learned from that was keeping commitments. Because if you can't keep a commitment to yourself to go out and do sales on the hottest day of the summer in the neighborhood you don't want to be in, and you're just having a rough time, but if you can keep that commitment to yourself, you can do anything. Oh, yeah. I think confidence as well. I mean, if you can have the confidence to walk up to somebody's door and within 10 to 15 minutes, they're handing you their credit card, that's pretty amazing. And then not just being able to do that, but doing it in a way that shows your values and integrity. Oh, yeah. And then I think another thing, too, is just knowing you can do hard things. Even if you hated it, like absolutely hated the summer and got through it, wow, I did it. Like I completed something hard. And it's funny because I'm still in school right now. And like when I would go to the summer, I'd always say, like, the last thing I want to do is write an essay and do homework because that sucks. Go sell. And then after the summer, I'd be like, all I want to do is just sit down and write an essay. It's so easy, not a big deal. I'll take a test. And then at the end of that school year, when I was going to sell again, it would be the same cycle of, I'm ready to sell. Let's get out there. So I think that's really, really funny too. And like I said, it's a great opportunity for anybody in any industry. So a few questions that we'd love to ask all of our guests are based on the Marriott School of Business values and its vision. So the vision of the Marriott School is we inspire to transform the world through Christ-like leadership. How have you implemented this in your work and life, and what are the fruits of it?
Yeah, a couple things that go directly to my mind is leading with integrity and having other people's best interest in mind. I've been studying a lot about leadership lately. So if we're going to get super spiritual about it, it's like, who's the best example you can go look to as the best leader? So when I think of a leader, or I even think of who would I want to be led by, it's people who are charitable, merciful, just and merciful, right? I don't want anybody just to forgive everything, but like hold me to a high standard as well.
Yeah.
And so I very much try to go implement those same Christ-like attributes, if you will, into the way that I go lead, because I've seen how effective that is, and I've also seen a lot of the leaders that I work with actually are very good at that, and I've had a lot of success, and I think that it's actually the only effective way to lead. And as soon as you start to try to get around that with tactics of persuasion and influence without having a core of integrity or honesty or charity, then it feels very short-sighted, and maybe you could have some quick success with that, but I don't know if you would ever find long-term success, or if people would ever want to go follow that long-term.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because you're just viewing people as a means to an end. Yeah, and so I think that the only way of true leadership and inspiration is following very specifically the Christ-like attributes there.
No, I think that's great, and I think too the hardest part is actually implementing that in your own life. Because we can talk all day about being Christ-like and following his values and his characteristics, but actually implementing it is, really hard. And I think you're someone that really does that well, and I've been able to see that the time that I know you. The mission of the Marriott School is we develop leaders. So kind of like that first one. What are some of the attributes of these leaders? What do they look like, and how can we become them?
My goal would be here actually to give you like a step-by-step process
of
what you could do. Because that's just how my brain works. It's like, step one, this is what you should start to implement. Step two is this. So just to kind of keep it super simple, and this is going to pull pretty much just from 7 Habits, but I think you should actually just go identify what they've done really well is identifying basically begin with the end in mind, essentially, of like, hey, you are at your funeral and you're hearing people say things about you. What do you want them to go say? So having that vision and that focus so you actually know how you want to end up. So for me, to be a little personal, is like I want nothing more than for my family to know that they were of high priority to me and that I believed in the gospel. I did my best to go diligently follow the commandments, all those things. And so then for me that goes and changes how I go do everything because I'm viewing it from that lens now, right? And so as a leader, I would say get very specific for that role of what do you want that to look like for you and for all your people. And then what does that actually look like? And then that's going to go, because then everything will just change. Because there's a lot of times it says, well, maybe I need to go do this, do that. But if you have it through a vision with the end goal, you'll just know, okay, I need to go do whatever it takes within the moral and ethical reason of my character.
Yeah. I really love the exercise that we would do at Moxie where we would literally write our eulogy, where we would sit down and really think about, what is actually going to be said at my funeral. Because I think that it's a bleak thought for sure, but it's very reflective because you're like, okay, what's actually important? What's important to me? And I like that you said that one of your priorities is having your family know that they're a priority because that's a big thing. But I think if people don't really vocalize that and think of it, they don't come up and think like, oh, that's something that I really want them to know.
Yeah, because one of the biggest things with leadership is the action that you're doing, people will follow. And so if I care about my family, know that's a priority, then I genuinely believe that by me following what I believe to be true of spending time with my family, they will go do the same with theirs. And I also, this is kind of off tangent a little bit, but I think I heard this from Tim, who's one of the owners at Moxie, and he would just always tell me, he's like, Brayden, people are dying to be led. They want to be led, and I'm the same, right? Sometimes it's easier. I'm like, someone just help
Just
me.
do it for me.
Help me, tell me what to do. But what I've found is that believing in people when they don't believe in themselves, and understanding that people want to be led, and so you need to go have a vision for the people that you're leading, because I take it as just my responsibility of how can I go help them? How can I help them be the best version of themselves? How can I help them hit X income goal as fast as possible? Or else, if you're not going to focus on those things and have a first creation for your people and have goals and commitments that they can work on, and they know specifically that you actually care more about your goals than they do, that's just then it would actually be better for them just to be somewhere else, because they're either going to go to follow a first creation that you've designed for them, or that you've helped them design for themselves, or they'll just be, they always say, you'll default to someone else's first creation. And so helping them be proactive in the sense of setting those goals is crucial.
Yeah,
That was
perfect.
long-winded, but
No, that was great.
there's a lot there.
Another question is, the values of the Marriott School are faith in Christ, integrity in action, respect for all, and excellence. Of these values, is there one that stands out to you that resonates with you, and why?
Yeah, I think integrity in action and respect for all of them. They're all that. I see
know,
why
they're
they
all
came up
amazing.
with those. Those are great.
They're all amazing.
Every single one. I was like, oh wait, I like that. I'll just choose the two that came to my mind first. Then integrity in action is because it is very easy to be honest when it's easy to be honest. I remember I had a little bit of a tax dilemma this year, essentially. There's just misunderstandings of how some things were supposed to get done.
Yeah.
And I remember my CPA came to me and he said, hey, it actually needs to be done this way, but it's going to result in you spending $20,000 more in taxes.
Yeah.
And in that moment, the way that I viewed it is like I had an integrity test of $20,000.
Yeah, totally.
And so I remember, I don't know what, it's horrible. I'm actually embarrassed to say that like I actually thought about it.
Yeah.
Because like that's a decent amount of money.
Oh, yeah, big chunk of change for sure.
And but I remember as soon as I thought about it, I said, I can't believe I'm actually thinking about this, because if you claim that you're a man of integrity, then like do it. You know what's right.
Yeah.
And so I remember I called him back and was like, it has to be done. Let's do it. And I remember I called my wife and she's like, what? Right?
Yeah.
I was like, no, this is the right thing. This is why I chose it. And so integrity in action, again, it's easy to be honest when it's easy to be honest. But if you can go choose in those moments, how can you be of integrity? How can you, when nobody's watching, what are the things you're doing? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Then I feel like that is where the growth comes in. That's where, so I love that one.
Yeah, totally.
I really love that one.
Well, and just commenting on that too, like you said, I think a lot of people would feel bad to be tempted in that moment, but I think that just shows our human nature. And then I think it shows more that you had that feeling and that you overcame it rather than not having that feeling at all. Because if there's no opposition, of course it's going to be easy to make the right choice, right?
Yeah.
But because we have that opposition and then overcome it, we then can grow and become better. So I think that's the cycle that we've been talking about, is just having hard things come, and when it hits, we actually apply what we are saying we do and believe.
Yeah. Another one, just real quick, is respect of others.
Yeah.
I was reading recently, and I liked this a lot, is it was talking about just being kind to others, everybody that you see in your day-to-day interaction. And the stat that it said was, if you assumed that someone was going through one of the biggest trials that they've ever been through, and so you went and extended love, kindness, mercy to this person, you would be right 80% of the time.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And that, to me, I don't know, it's a busy world. We're, rubbing shoulders with a lot of people, just trying to get from our next meeting to our next thing. But really being able to step back and being respectful and kind, because words matter.
Yeah, totally.
And so I've tried to view that through the lens of, hey, I'm not like in a weird way that I'm sure they're going through a really hard time. But I think that if you can actually view it of how can I be of help, how can I be respectful, how can I build this person up, that is what a Christ-like leader would do.
Mm-hmm.
And becoming that, I know that takes time, but I feel like focusing on that is, so both of those for me are the ones that stood out.
No, I like that too. I think the respect thing, we all give respect to those that are above us sometimes, like, teachers or people in higher positions, stuff like that. I think that's very easy and a given, but I think giving respect to everyone around us is hard sometimes. I have done a lot of different jobs. In high school, I worked at Domino's, and there was many times where it was just a struggle, not because the work was hard, but because people were just so annoying. Angry people who want their Domino's are not very nice, right?
Yeah.
And I think it was very noticeable when somebody was nice. And you're like, wow, that made my day, that I was going through a hard time these last 3 hours of cooking pizzas, answering phones, and then somebody was nice. And so I've just, from that personal experience, have tried to pay that forth. And like you said, a lot of people need it.
Yeah, and it didn't take that much effort for someone just to say, hey, thank you for making my pizza.
Yeah, totally. Super nice.
It's not always hard.
Yeah. Well, and I think, too, a lot of people think when you need to help someone out, and it's like those, TikTok and YouTube videos where it's like, hey, I'll pay for your meal of $20. And it's like, dude, no, you could just say hi or smile and thank you.
Yeah.
Like, a smile definitely goes a long way. And I think we've done that just from doing the door-to-door thing and having to break the ice hundreds of times a day.
Yeah.
A smile just can make someone's day, which is really, really
Yeah,
great.
and then just genuinely caring, being patient,
Yeah.
and helping vocalize, that you're appreciative of someone. And I think sometimes, for me, the way that I viewed it is like sometimes I'm pretty shy, and especially in like public situations.
Yeah.
And so one thing that I've been trying to work on lately is actually getting out of my comfort zone a little bit, because people would probably be like, oh, that guy's maybe not very nice.
Yeah.
When I really, in my mind, have been thinking, oh, like, they're so awesome, or their shoes look really cool. But because I was shy, so I guess the point there is I'm just trying to be vocal and help people, just express it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, Brayden, we hit the question that we love asking, and this is what I'm genuinely curious about you as well, being in an industry that if you don't do something, you don't make money, right?
Yeah.
And the question is, how do you measure success? And this can be an open-ended question, whether it be, in your profession or in your life as well.
Yeah, so if I was to define success for me, it would be reflecting on my eulogy, if you will, or the obituary that I've made for myself, and ask myself, what am I doing, and have I currently been working on becoming that person?
Mm-hmm.
That's what success is. But if I start to turn elsewhere, if I start to look at other outside things, it's just, again, it's not helpful. And so for Brayden specifically, am I becoming the person that I have told myself that I want to become? I have really focused on that. Have I been making and keeping my commitments to the things I said are the most important to me? And so the way that I would view success, and it's hard, I believe, in today's world to not get distracted with some of those things, but to really analyze and sit down and say, I feel successful because I am working on those things. And to note here, I'm not saying I've achieved those things, because I think as soon as we think that we've made it, then that's when we're kind of stuck and we're actually not going to grow anymore. And so I would be very careful to choose the word that I'm becoming those things and improving in those things.
Yeah, perfect. Love that answer, Brayden. Well, that was pretty much it. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, I would just say thanks for having me here. This was really cool, and it's also fun to just talk out loud about the things that actually matter.
Yeah,
totally. About fun principles of how to improve and leadership. Maybe I'm just nerdy, but I could talk about this all day. So
no, totally. Yeah, of course. And like I said, Brayden is one of my good friends, and everything he has spoken to, I can attest for his character as well. You definitely practice what you preach. And Brayden, I was going to just do a little plug for you as well. If there's any listeners out there that just wanted to get more information or advice about the door-to-door industry, how to get involved, is there a place that they could contact you?
Yeah, there's several spots. Number one, you could just go as simple as just Facebook, Brayden Searle. I'm sure the name will be on there as well.
You want to spell your name too?
Yeah, Brayden Searle. And then Instagram would be the same, just Brayden_Searle.
Well, again, appreciate it, Brayden. Thanks so much, man.
Yeah, thank you.
make sure you subscribe to our podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or SoundCloud so you never miss an episode. Be a friend and tell a friend about measuring success right.
This podcast is a project of the Marriott Student Review at Brigham Young University. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Marriott Student Review or online at marriottstudentreview.org.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect official policy or position of Brigham Young University or the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.